Hi, welcome back. It is Bonded Book Club discussion day, and we are so excited because we are talking about Hidden Figures today. Absolutely loved the book. It's an incredible story. It's a true story. And I'm also really excited because now that I finished the book, I'm going to let myself go see the movie. I was waiting. So I'm really excited to do that as well. So if you've been following along, we started at noon today. If you have a new copy of the book, there is a reading guide in the back, and there are 10 questions. We have been using those questions today to guide our discussion. We've gone through the first 6 questions already. I am going to be talking about questions 7 and 8. If you do not have the book, we will also post in the paragraph for the video the text of the questions so you can see. We want you to join in on the discussion. Comment in the comment section, let us know what you think about the questions, what you think about the book. If you're reading along with us, what do you think about this story? I mean, these women are pretty incredible. I was certainly blown away by them, and getting to read this book has been a lot of fun for that reason. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Question 7. It says, Mary Jackson, we learn, saw the relationships between women as a natural way to bridge racial differences. How did what West computers had in common with their white and male counterparts, a love of math and science, bridge games, dedication to their work, help bridge the divides imposed on them by society? First, I would just like to make a small note of Mary Jackson's theory on women coming together, because it touched my heart. It's so much of what we believe in Bonded is that women coming together and the relationships that women can build have so much power, whether it's to bridge racial differences or economic barriers, or just in general so much of what we face in society. So yes, go women. I just wanted to point that out. But to the question that's posed here, so what did West computers have in common with their white and male counterparts, and how did that work to help them bridge divides? I think what is so interesting, and you really see it play out in the book, is the idea that this was a very unique situation because of the nature of math and science and the way that it works. So much of social sciences and even like cultural and societal norms are subjective, which makes overcoming something like racism or patriarchy or these different imposed divides and biases and prejudices so difficult, because it can often just be dismissed as, well, it's my opinion that you're not good enough. And we even see this in the legal field, where you would think right and wrong seem pretty obvious, but they're not. You know, you're not persuasive enough, you're too aggressive, you're not aggressive, your ideas don't interpret it in the law the way I think it should be. But when it comes to math and science, what is so unique is that there are very clear right and wrong answers. And I actually wanted to read just a short little passage from one of the final pages of the book. Starts on page 243. And it just says, Katherine, and this is the portion where she's talking about Star Trek. It says, Katherine, in fact, thought science and space was the ideal place for talented people of any background. The results were what mattered, she told classrooms of students. Math was either right or wrong, and if you got it right, it didn't matter what color you were. And I think that concept plays a huge role. So all of these things, whether it was their love of math or science or bridge games, worked to humanize the women that were working at Langley, especially the women of color, to their counterparts, their white male counterparts. But there was also something incredibly powerful about them being able to do the work, and no one could dispute that they were right. No one could dispute the quality of what they were doing. The answers were right. The numbers were right. And so while they could share all these common interests and that made them more humanized, more relatable, they could also prove their worth very simply in numbers on paper. And that went a long way to, I think, allow their male counterparts to even acknowledge any shared interests that they had. because at this point they could see that they were as smart as they were, they were as talented as they were, because the numbers didn't lie. And so I think that plays a huge role and makes the situation at Langley, or even just in sciences, so different than what they were facing in society, where a lot of times their worth could be challenged on completely baseless grounds, under the idea that it was subjective and it was a little harder to prove. And this gave them something very powerful to be able to go in and then start to build relationships with people. If someone sees your worth, that makes it a lot easier to have these type of relationships, to grow friendships, or even just working relationships with other people. So then question 8 says, quote, "Not a morning dawned that Katherine Johnson didn't wake up eager to get to the office. The passion she had for her job was a gift, one that few people ever experienced." End quote. Was this passion for the job the key to Johnson's overcoming the obstacles she faced because of her gender and race? Was she simply lucky to have found the right career? Do you think many people feel this way about their work? I think absolutely her passion for her work had to play a role in her ability to overcome the biases and prejudices she faced as a woman and as a Black woman, because it was relentless. It was daily that she faced racism, even within Langley, and to be able to have the stamina to endure that kind of just degrading treatment on a daily basis, you would have to love what you're doing. And she did. And it was allowed her to be able to go in there and focus on something that she was deeply passionate about, something she was truly meant to be doing. We talk, like, Shetterly takes us back, and I love the way she tells Katherine's story from the time that she's a young girl and talks about counting the stars with her dad. She had a math mind. This is who she was. She excelled in every avenue she ever went down. All of her schooling, she was always the best, and it fed her passion. So I do think that played a large role in it, because if you can love something, you will put up with more, you'll endure more, you will push through all the sacrifices and the long hours. I mean, this was grueling work, the kind that could wear you down even if you do love it. So if you don't, there's very few people that would put up with it. Even if all the other circumstances were fine, it was just a lot of hours. These women worked really hard, doing really hard mathematical work. I mean, the parts of the book that lost me the most were when she got into the nitty-gritty. I am not a math and science mind, and I was like, what? I mean, it did work to show me just how complicated and how much of this was just uncharted territory. Was she simply lucky to have found the right career? I think there is an element of luck, right? It was an element of fate, but she wasn't just lucky. She worked so hard. She was the most prepared. You get luck and opportunity, but it takes real skill to be able to take advantage of those happenstance opportunities, and she never let one pass her up. She always was ready to go. Whenever a little tiny sliver of a door was cracked open, she was prepared to step through it, and that I think was more at play here than luck. Isn't the saying something like, the most prepared are the luckiest, or something along those lines? And I think she actually says this somewhere in the book. So I think she was lucky that it was opened up, that all the chips fell where they did for her, but it was something she had prepared herself for. She had worked so hard from the time that she was very young, all through her schooling, to be ready for this job. Do you think many people feel this way about their work? Unfortunately, I would say no. I've had jobs that I was very unhappy in. I know Brittany has. I know so many of my friends that are anywhere from extremely unhappy at their work, in their jobs, to simply apathetic. I would say the number of people that truly love deep in their soul, it is part of who they are, getting to do what they love every day is very small, unfortunately. I am very fortunate in this, that I am going on this adventure with Brittany and that we get to do what we love every day, including talking to all of you about these books. But it is very rare. And I think that she was also aware of that, and what a great opportunity it was for her to get to go after that. And it helped her to push through. I think Shetterly also points out her upbringing and her father's approach to life and what that gave her and the power it gave her to be able to let things roll off her back and let her move past things that could really just take down a lesser person, or someone without the strength that she possessed. I think she's so incredible. If you can't tell, I've been so inspired by the strength of all of these women in this book. The book focuses mostly on 3 women, but so many names. I've kept a list while reading of so many women. I'm like, I need to know more about her. I want to know more about her. And I'm sure Shetterly could have gone off on so many tangents talking about so many women that, I've never heard about and I've never read about, and I want to know more. So this is my last video for the day. Like I said, Brittany will be back at 4:30 to wrap up our discussion for the day. But thank you all so much for joining us. I've had so much fun. I can't wait to hear what you thought about it in the comments. Reed will be commenting back over the next few days. And don't forget, we have our next book picked out. It is I'm Judging You by Lovey Ajayi. I get it wrong every time. I'm so sorry. And I was gonna, in my head, I told myself not to do it, and I did it anyway. So anyway, that will be our next book. We're really excited about it. There's gonna be some really good discussion there. She has an amazing way at kind of getting people going and saying controversial things, or even just kind of inciting conversation, which I think will be so much fun to read, and she is super funny. So don't forget to come back and talk to Brittany and listen to her at 4:30, and then we'll get started reading our next book. Thanks, everybody.